Shared by Rab Dov Horowitz. This week we'll continue talking about the subject of Ltzeit Shamim that we started, and we'd like to say over a story that happened, and we'll try and take it apart and see how this fits into the different halachas we've been going through. There's a story with a building of 4 floors, an apartment building, that they added additional porches, mirpeset, external porches. The contractor that built it had to drill into the stone, into the brickwork, in order to support these porches, these mirpesets. And then this was in the summer, and that's what he did. And then when it came winter, water penetrated into the building. There was leakages. And they clarified it, and they saw what happened was that between the Yerushalmi stone, between each stone there's a special filling that's supposed to make it waterproof, and this stuff had fallen out. Now there's a whole question of how to do it now. In order to replace this stuff, you have to bring professional people who know how to do snapping and are able to fix it. But obviously it costs a lot of money. Whereas if they would have done this filling whilst the contractor was building the porches, it would have been much cheaper. Now the question is, there are those that claimed that the cause of this problem was actually the building work from the porches that caused the tremors of the digging, of the drilling into this brickwork. That's actually what caused the filling to fall out. The contractor claimed that it's got nothing to do with this building work because there was a distance between the drilling and the part that actually fell out. The part that fell out. There was a distance between the two places, and he claimed that one had nothing to do with the other. Now, if his claim is true, so then all the neighbors in the building have to all join together. It's all their responsibility to refill this loss of this special waterproof stuff. Whereas if it's the fault of the kablan, of the contractor, then only the contractor would have to pay to have this job done. So the question is, who is chayiv to pay? So on the one hand we have the kablan, the contractor that claims for definite that it's not his fault, and some other members, or some neighbors, claim that it was the fault of the drilling because the tremors of the drilling influenced even a distance of 2 meters away. So therefore the responsibility should be on the kablan according to their claim. Now, this is a story of a shema and shema. Each one doesn't know for sure. Each party doesn't know for sure who's at fault over here, so each one is a shema. And the halacha should be, strictly speaking, about mechaveira alavaraya. And therefore also, as we already discussed, even Ltzeit Shamim, there's no halacha of Ltzeit Shamim over here in a case of shema v'shema. What happens if the kablan is adamant? He claims that there's no chance that his drilling was the thing that caused this filling to fall out. So that's called a bari. And the neighbors, they are shema. They don't know for sure that he's right or wrong. However, we're not going to say here bari v'shema bari adif that it's a bari. Why? Because it's a bari garua. There's a concept called a bari garua, meaning even when the person who's one party is saying bari, he's saying that for sure. This is for sure, it's for definite. However, since the other party is unable to verify. They weren't there at the time. They didn't know. They couldn't measure it up whether it was or wasn't his fault. Therefore, this is not a fair bori. Bori is only a fair taina if the other person could deny, could be makrish, could argue. Whereas here they can't really argue for sure because they weren't there at the time. So that's considered a weak bori. And the Isameach says that in a case of a bori garua, also there's no din of lotzis Yisrael, just like Shema v'Shema. However, the Sma and Rabbi Kiva Eiger seem to have a machlekes. The Sma writes, what happens if somebody comes up to two people and he says, one of your fathers were lent money by my father. So that's a case where there's no חיוב לצאת שמים, because it's a shema. No one knows who's chayiv over him. However, says Rabbi Kiva Eiger, when do we say that Shema v'Shema there's no din of Ltzei Shamayim? That's only when the person who's claiming the Toiveya, he should know, he ought to know, and he doesn't. So then we say that there's no Chiv Ltzei Shamayim. However, in a case where the person who's claiming, he had no clue, he wasn't meant to know, because this is something which has to do with his father. So there was no way that he's meant to know in the first place. That Shema is called a Shema Taif. This is a Shema that gives him a full power to claim, at least to be Mechayev, the next party, to be Lotzis Dei Shamayim, to pay him Lotzis Dei Shamayim. Now, what about in this case? When the contractor, he has no way really. Does he have a way of really knowing whether it's his fault or not? So perhaps we're saying that in this case of Shema v'Shema, he would actually be able to shrink responsibility and say he has no responsibility or not. And therefore, all the neighbors should have to pay Lotzis Dei Shamayim. However, we can say this is different. Because only in that case where it's very clear that since it's an Asik that had to do with their father, he had no way that he's meant to know. He wasn't meant to be involved in this story at all in the first place. Then we say that even though he's a Shema, he can be Mechayev the other party to be Lotzis Dei Shamayim. Whereas, in this case, since it's their responsibility at the time of the work to make sure that their work doesn't cause any other harm, in this case we'll say that their Shema is a Shema Garua. It's a Shema that's not going to obligate the other party to be Lotzis Dei Shamayim. Thank you.